or Battle of Los Angeles and shit like that. That was a real fucking thing that happened. The pictures of Battle Los Angeles is crazy.
What happened exactly?
There's
Battle
this,
Los Angeles?
there's this big object in the sky, and we're shooting machine guns at it. We
What year
got
was this?
spotlights. This is like in the 50s, maybe?
I remember seeing it. There's this photo.
Look at this shit.
Wow.
So we're putting fucking
they have
rounds on
these
this fucking thing.
Spotlights on this thing in the sky.
Look at the rounds.
Right, but what is it? What is it that they see? That's weird. That all you can see is spotlights.
1947. It says in the corner.
Boy, that looks like a fucking flying saucer.
Look at
That
in
one?
the look at in the middle
Yeah.
and look at but those things around it, those are fucking like Ma Deuce rounds. Like they're shooting at this fucking thing. They don't know what it is.
Well, you know that there's a famous story from the Soviet Union that these guys shot at a UFO and it turned them into stone.
Is it
And
true?
I don't know. The CIA investigated it. Here, I'll send it to you, Jamie, because I sent it to Jeremy Corbell. And that's what I asked him.
Fuck, I should have had links, Jamie. God damn it.
Well, this is the only link I have. It's
CIA UFO turned into stone.
You can find that stuff.
You're
you
definitely on
find
a
it?
watch list, Jamie.
yeah. So there's literally like a CIA document about it. That these guys supposedly shot at a low-flying spaceship. Look at it. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles.
Poles.
Yeah, only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived.
No shit.
The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. Oh my God.
It turned them into limestone.
Turned them literally into limestone.
And this is a CIA
Yeah.
paperwork?
Well, this is, they're reading from a KGB file, right? So it's just go to the very bottom of that again, Jamie, the very bottom of that. It says one of the things that says the CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked. But the thing is, they're saying if the file corresponds to reality, that means there's a
If this is real, they're tough.
Yeah, they can fuck with you.
What year was this released?
I don't know.
Source is a newspaper.
1991?
93.
93.
So there's all these disclosures that are going on right now, and they're very, very fascinating because it's hard to know what's true and what's not true. But it's interesting that they're talking about it. But no one showed me anything yet. I'm waiting for them to show me things. I've seen some things already, like those videos that they took off the FLIR video and the Go Fast video, and these videos of these things where these fighter pilots are trying to track this thing, and it's like zipping across the sky, and they're like, what the fuck is that? I've seen a few of those. I've talked to 2 different fighter pilots that have had encounters.
And they're all in.
They're all in. I think there's a real thing going on. What that real thing is what's confusing to me. I think some of it has to be ours. I think some of it has to be like super advanced drone technology that we don't want everyone knowing about. And it's probably some black ops shit. But I don't think that's all of it. I think it's also possible that we've been visited. It just makes sense. It sounds so stupid. That's part of the problem of even talking about it because it sounds dumb because there's no evidence. So you have to believe in something where there's no evidence of it other than like some blurry photographs. But then when you just think about the size of the universe itself and the fact that we exist here on this planet. We're real. We know we're real.
What if it's fucking a Martha or whatever, and they're from fucking the center of the earth and the holes in the poles or whatever, north and south, and that's where the holes are, and that's why Google Maps blocks it all out and all that shit.
Well, that would be a great theory before cell phones. Like that,
but it's not there. You still can't see it.
Yeah, but you can with satellites and also flight patterns. Like the people that
copy and paste. By the way,
you know who doesn't think the world is flat? Pilots.
True. Or anyone who's been in an airplane.
They fly around these motherfuckers. They know where they have to go. They know the flight patterns.
And you look at it.
Yeah, you look at it. Yeah. Also, by the way, everything's round. Go out in the fucking sky and look at Mars, look at Jupiter, get a telescope, look at all the stars. Notice how everything's round? Seems like there's a pattern going on. Yeah. Why would this be different?
This ass is round.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so weird, man. I don't know. And you're talking about the oh shit moment. I think we've been so like normalized to it. Like E.T., all this shit, growing up watching this shit, to where it's like, yeah, no shit. Everyone, no matter what the surveys say or anything, everyone thinks there's like something going on.
Everyone. Yeah.
There's
a few people that still are very incredulous. Elon, believe it or not, is incredulous. He's famously said, if the aliens are real, they sure are subtle.
They're very subtle. Bigfoot's subtle, too. Doesn't mean he's not an interdimensional being that could teleport at will.
He knows where the cameras are.
I need one of these jellyfish UAPs that they're showing and go back.
That one is the least interesting to me.
How come?
I'm not interested in it. It just doesn't seem like anything. It's flying around. It just goes in the water, comes out of the water. Like, okay. Like, so what?
Which ones do you like?
I like the ones that move off at insane rates of speed. And that, like the Tic Tac one. The Tic Tac one, I was watching this documentary on it the other day. And they were saying that the footage was released because it wasn't supposed to be released. Someone recorded it. Someone recorded the FLIR footage. Yeah, and someone released it. And if it wasn't for that video footage that people have tried to debunk and they try to come up, but whatever the fuck that thing is, it's showing no visible means of propulsion. It moves off at an insane rate of speed. It's documented on radar. It's documented by eyewitness accounts from multiple jets. It's documented by the instrumentation that's in the jets. They saw this thing. They know that this thing is operating in some way that we have no idea how to do that using conventional propulsion methods. And they said that it's a much longer video. That what they got was only a small piece of it, and that there's actually much more of it that the government has. Whatever the fuck that thing is, like that to me, those are the kind of UFOs I'm fascinated by. Something that can go from above 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet in less than a second. Like, what is that? What is that? Is that ours? Is that why it's always near military bases? Is that why it's over in San Diego, off the coast of the Nimitz, where the Nimitz was at? Is that why it's over in the East Coast, where they have restricted airspace? Is that why these things are always in these places? Is it ours? I mean, if I had some sort of a super sophisticated drone technology that is above and beyond what we think of in terms of what's technologically available today, I would say it's UFOs too. I would say, we've out of this world craft. Yeah. I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks that it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings, and the darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said something that they talked to him about when he was working on these back-engineered crafts, is that what they use us as is vessels that we are souls. We hold souls. and that this is essentially a farm, and this is how they develop souls through us, and that what our soul is. I mean, if you had to imagine what our soul is some force, something that they farm here with us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
That's what Bob said?
He's talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories that has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. And Diana
Tucker's
Pasulka
talked about the demonic part of it. Yeah. What did Diana say?
Well, this is what some of these people think, is that these things have always been here and they are a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture, that it might be some of that because we do that. Like we send drones to Mars. If we get to the point where we have artificial intelligence, or I should say created intelligence, digital intelligence that exists in some sort of a physical form that we can use in a physical craft that doesn't have the biological limitations of tissue, need oxygen, and all the things that would prevent us from being able to travel in deep space. You could send this thing out into the cosmos, and this thing behaves like a life form. I mean, then we're essentially on our way to doing that. We have a rover that's moving around on Mars right now as we speak. So what is Ezekiel's? Okay. I saw an immense dust storm coming from the north, an immense cloud with lightning flashing from it, a huge ball of fire glowing like bronze. Within the fire were what looked like 4 creatures, vibrant with life. Each had the form of a human being, but each also had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were sturdy and straight as columns, but their feet were hooved like those of a calf, sparkled with the fire like burnished bronze. On all 4 sides under their wings they had human hands. All 4 had both faces and wings, with the wings touching one another. They had neither one way nor the other. They went straight forward. They turned neither one way nor the other. They went straight forward. Their faces looked like this. In front, a human face. On the right side, the face of a lion. On the left, the face of an ox. And in the back, the face of an eagle. So much for the faces. The wings were spread out with the tips of one pair touching the creature on either side. The other pair of wings covered its body. Each creature went straight ahead. Wherever the spirit went, they went. They didn't turn as they want. The 4 creatures looked like blazing fire or like fiery torches. Tongues of fire shot back and forth between the creatures. And out of the fire, bolts of lightning. The creatures flashed back and forth like strikes of lightning. As I watched the 4 creatures, I saw something that looked like a wheel on the ground beside each of the 4-faced creatures. This is what the wheels looked like. They were identical wheels, sparkling like diamonds in the sun. They looked like they were wheels within wheels, like a gyroscope. I mean, that sounds like if you're living thousands of years ago, and by the way, you tell this story forever before it ever gets written down. I mean, there's 1,000 years of oral tradition of speaking these stories before these things get written down. They went in any one of 4 directions they faced, but straight, not veering off. The rims were immense, circled with eyes. When the living creatures went, the wheels went. When the living creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off. Wherever the spirit went, they went, the wheels sticking right with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the creatures went, the wheels went. When the creatures stopped, the wheels stopped. When the creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. One of the things that Lazar had said is there's no instrumentation inside these things, that they're piloting them with their minds. Well, think about what they're saying. I mean, what is he saying? When the creatures lifted off, the wheels lifted off, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Over the heads of the living creatures was something like a dome, shimmering like a sky full of cut glass, vaulted over their heads. Under the dome, one set of wings was extended toward the others, with another wings covering their bodies. When they moved, I heard their wings. It was like the roar of a great waterfall, like the voice of the strong God, like the noise of a battlefield. When they stopped, they folded their wings. I mean, goddamn, man. That sounds like...
That's a UFO.
Yeah, it sounds like a UFO.
UAP.
That sounds like some fucking insane vision that's beyond comprehension.
The deeper level is, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, It's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or the people within the U.S. government know that, then they're serving a bad force. And
Well, when you
think
say
about that for a minute.
spiritual, like what makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? I mean, spiritual may be the wrong word. Supernatural. They're beyond nature as we understand it. I mean, obviously they are. I mean, just chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. The deeper level is so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, I mean, in other words, if I take a, 9mm round or 7.62 by 39 and shoot you at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, and it's even more intense in salt water because it's denser, you could catch the bullet if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500 knots as measured by sonar, right there you're challenging our understanding of physics. Like, what is that? How can that be? So yeah,
They've tracked that. They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea.
yeah, really, yeah, much faster than any object can actually go undersea. For sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on underwater, and a lot. And there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's all so blurry though.
I don't think
Like
it's
the
that
transmedium video.
Yeah, I don't think some of it's that blurry. I think some of it's crystal clear.
We just don't have access to it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just we haven't seen it.
Correct.
So they have some stuff.
For sure. So, but there's just a lot going on underwater, and it's measured. And so, whatever. I mean, these are all, again, this is like the most obvious observable level of it. But then you just ask yourself, like, what is this actually? And, if there's been extensive knowledge of this for decades, like maybe 80 years at least, if not going back to the 30s, 90 years, to what end? So there are two possible explanations, obvious explanations. The first is the one you often hear, which is this is so heavy that if the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It would be too scary. Like, you don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that, the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, if they can't, that's known, okay, then that suggests a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it. But then there's a deeper level, which is like, okay, what's your relationship with these things? What is the U.S. government's relationship with these things? And there's evidence that there is a relationship and that it's a longstanding. And that raises like a lot of questions about intent. And so like, what is that? And I just personally decided, and people have been hurt by these things. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's a knowable fact. It's a provable fact. And killed. And I'm not saying millions of people have been killed by whatever these things are, but people have been killed, and it's known because it's working its way through the courts out of the VA. So I don't know, an object that is by definition supernatural, it's above the laws of nature as we understand them, and that has resulted in the deaths of people. We don't spend enough time thinking about like what that adds up to. Like, not good, actually, not good.
And how many people do you think have died from these
I
things?
don't know, but I mean,
And is it radiation sickness? Is it like what's the
So
cause
the person that I talked to, I interviewed someone who was a Stanford medical school professor who's out there and worth talking to, by the way. And
you talking about Gary Nolan?
that's exactly who I'm talking about. Who's effectively an expert witness in these cases. So he's an expert in brain injury. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Entirely credible person. Checks all the boxes that I care about. He's got patents, so he's like a lot of Stanford University professors. He's like independently rich. I mean, he flew to. I live in a remote place, and he flew to my place at his own expense because he wanted to tell his story. So he's got no profit motive here. He's the most highly credentialed person at the university, practically, at Stanford Medical School. we consider that a big deal. And he's worked on this for over 10 years, assessing the injuries to U.S. servicemen from being in close proximity to these objects or having contact with these objects. And his conclusion, as you know because you've talked to him, is that there's some kind of energy coming off here that scrambles people's brains or kills them. And it's not exactly radiation, at least in his telling to me. So anyway, but the point is, people have died.
Yeah.
And so, it does raise a lot of questions about, like, what the hell, right? What the hell? American citizens have died and you're hiding it? Why are you hiding that? Why would you hide that?
Perhaps because they don't have any explanations. Because it's so beyond our comprehension that they're still trying to piece it together. Like, I would wonder how much interaction they really do have with these things. Like, if I was from another planet or if I was some interdimensional being, I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the president. I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the government. I would probably look at this infantile race, this species, this bizarre territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons, this very weird species. I'd probably look at them as very chaotic, and I wouldn't really have much concern for who's running it, especially if they have the ability to travel at insane speeds and go undetected. And
well, it depends. Like that. Okay, so the template that you're using to understand this is like science fiction, right? These are an advanced race of beings from somewhere else. But the template that every other society before us has used is a spiritual one. Mm-hmm. There is a whole world that we can't see that acts on people, a supernatural world. It's acting on us all the time for good and bad. Every society has thought this before ours. In fact, every society in all recorded history has thought that until, I'll be specific, August 1945, when we dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And all of a sudden, the West is just officially secular. We're God. There is no God but us. And that's the world that we have grown up in, but that's an anomaly. Like, no one else has ever thought that. There's never been a society that thought that. Every other society has assumed, and they've had all kinds of different explanations, and the details differ, but the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. And so to someone born before or living before 1945, I think it would have been much more obvious that this is the thing that every society has written about. And in fact, that battle, that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has like been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So like it just, once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?